TheorySabers.com. I bet the title got you in, didn't it? Well, let me explain. Anakin definitely did a lot of wrong things, but once this video is done in its entirety and you watched it all the way through, you'll have a better understanding of how, from his point of view, he didn't really do much that was wrong. This video plays devil's advocate against what so many people believe as everything being Anakin's fault. Now, I'm not here to say that it wasn't. You are 100% in control of your own actions, and everything that Anakin did was because he chose for it to happen that way. He made all of those decisions, and he did all of those horrible things. That's not to say that there couldn't have been ways to prevent those things from happening from such an unstable person. If the Jedi had just been a little bit more careful with who they were dealing with, bringing in such a damaged boy who required more love and attention than others, could this have really changed the fate of the galaxy and the fate of so many in the Star Wars universe? That's what we're going to examine today in this very long video documentary. Anakin did nothing wrong. Sit back, relax, subscribe if you're new, hit the like button, and let's begin. Anakin Skywalker didn't betray the Jedi. He didn't turn to the dark side for power. He didn't want to rule the galaxy. He wanted to save it. He wanted to save her. And in the Revenge of the Sith novelization by Matthew Stover, we don't just see his fall, we feel it from the inside. Every choice, every compromise, every silent scream as the man called Anakin Skywalker disappears and something hollow takes his place. This is the full truth behind Darth Vader's creation, and why, when you really understand it, Anakin did nothing wrong. Now, in the film, we see Anakin's descent from the outside. But in the novel, it begins long before Palpatine, long before Mustafar, long before Mace Windu. It begins, and stay with me now, a dragon. On page 29 of the novelization, Matthew Stover writes, Anakin sometimes thinks of the dread that eats at his heart as a dragon. A cold kind, a dead kind, not nearly dead enough. Now, this dragon isn't a beast, it's fear. Fear that everything he loves will die. His mother, Padme, Obi-Wan, his unborn child, and the dragon whispers a simple truth. All things die, Anakin Skywalker. Even stars burn out. Page 29. That's the voice that lives in him. Not Sidious, not the dark side, just fear, crushing, paralyzing, endless. This is the Anakin Skywalker we meet before the story ever begins. Anakin was never really given a real choice. Not by the Jedi, not by the Republic. He was a slave on Tatooine, rescued only to become a different kind of slave, to rules, to expectations, to denial. Yoda tells him, train yourself to let go of everything you fear to lose. That's both in the movie and the novel. But no one ever taught him how. So he hides. He lies. He clings to Padme because the Jedi left him emotionally starving. He clings to Palpatine because Palpatine listens. He could tell Palpatine things he could never share with Obi-Wan, not even Padme. That is a direct quote from page 30. And so the dragon grows. Anakin starts having visions, not of war, of Padme dying in childbirth. And once again, the Jedi have no answers. They tell him to let go. You must not mourn, you must not fear, you must accept. But the only man who gives him another option is the Sith Lord sitting beside him in the Senate. Palpatine feeds him the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise, and with it, the idea that maybe, just maybe, he can stop death himself. And it's the perfect temptation because it's not evil, it's love, twisted by fear, but love nonetheless, at least in his point of view. Then Palpatine reveals himself. Anakin should kill him, but he doesn't. He turns him in. Because at this point, Anakin is still trying to do the right thing, and he begs Mace Windu to arrest the Chancellor, and Mace's reply, stay here. The most important Jedi alive, the man they claim is the Chosen One, and they leave him behind. Once again, they choose control over trust, and it destroys everything. In the movie, it's ambiguous whether Sidious is faking. In the novel, it's not. Matthew Stover writes on page 294, Mace Windu was winning. He had the Sith Lord's lightsaber bent into a near hopeless position. Palpatine was down, and he was not getting up. And, on page 295, Vapad is more than a fighting style, it's a state of mind, and Mace Windu stood in it like a stone in a river. Palpatine is losing, Only when Anakin walks in does he change tactics. He plays the victim. I'm too weak, please help me. And Anakin, overwhelmed, desperate, broken, acts. He cuts off Mace's hand, Sidious kills the Jedi Master, and Anakin collapses. Stover writes on page 296, he was Darth Vader and he was afraid. There's no pride, no strength, only a boy who just damned himself, and did it to save the only person who ever made him feel whole. This is where the Anakin Skywalker that we knew, I would say 99% of him dies. And I can never say 100% because he's still Anakin. And George always said this, that even when he's Darth Vader, he is still the chosen one. He is still to bring balance of the Force and all that. He is still the main character. There is still always that tiny, tiny bit of Anakin Skywalker left in Darth Vader that holds at least some of the very core values of Anakin. Are they bent? Yes. Are they perhaps broken for what Anakin believes is the way to save Padme? Absolutely. But he still recognizes what is wrong. That's literally why he does wrong things, is to unlock this power and go into the Jedi Temple and do this stuff. So Palpatine gives the order, go to the Jedi Temple, do what must be done. And in that moment, Matthew Stover writes, he was gone. He was beyond rage, beyond pain. He was empty. Page 300. This is not fury, it's absence. And I would say that that's probably the worst thing beyond rage, is to feel nothing. Because then you are dealing with something inhuman. When Padme then confronts Anakin on Mustafar, the novel expands their dialogue far beyond what's in the film. So Anakin tells her about the new empire, that he can protect her, rule together, and she turns away. You're breaking my heart. At this moment, Anakin actually begins to cry. And we didn't see this in the film, but in the book, which is what George, fully stamped of approval, wrote off on, it says on page 361, his tone softened, his eyes shone with tears, because of Obi-Wan. He's not Darth Vader in this moment anymore. He's a boy, one who can't understand why the love he's fighting for is afraid of him, one who's lost control of everything. And when he sees Obi-Wan, he snaps out of that again, and then he becomes Darth Vader. It was Padme that brought him back, and it was Obi-Wan that broke the spell and reignited that fire, that dragon. Because Obi-Wan, just like the Jedi, will take away everything, just like they did his mother, stopping him from knowing the ways to save his mom, stopping him from all of the pleas and the times that he asked them, I need to go save my mom. I'm having dreams about her. But they just said ignore it. Be mindful of your thoughts. Now, the Mustafar duel is a masterpiece in the film, and of course, the biggest of credits to my friend, and who I now call my friend, which is so cool, Nick Gillard, who trained the boys to do this amazing duel, which they picked up very, very easily and quickly. It's an absolute masterpiece in the film, and in the novel, I have to say it's quite different. It's a funeral, and Matthew Stover writes on page 379, Obi-Wan fought with understanding, but not with hate. Anakin fought with rage. It's not about victory, it's more about heartbreak. And Obi-Wan, he doesn't want to kill him, he begs him to stop. Don't try it. I mean, mind you, pretty poor way of begging, but I feel like if Obi-Wan had really spoken to Anakin a little bit more during their fight scene, which we saw many pauses, maybe he would have been able to break through, to level with him just for a minute. Don't try it, Anakin does, because at this point he'd rather die than be wrong. And well, he pretty much almost does. Obi-Wan watches the flames consume what's left of his brother, he takes the lightsaber, he walks away, because he can't bring himself to actually end it. And also it's written in the novel that if he were to actually go down the high ground and kill Anakin, he knows the Emperor is coming, and he probably wouldn't make it back up. That is if the lava doesn't get him too. And this is where Sidious finds Anakin, burned, broken, half dead, and he remakes him. He was more than half machine and less than half alive, page 405. And then comes the final blow when Sidious tells him, it seems in your anger, you killed her, once he's fully constructed on the table. And then a scream ripped free of Anakin Skywalker's soul, and no one was left to hear it on page 406. Now, Anakin committed evil. He became the face of terror, but his soul, it was never seeking domination. It was seeking salvation. Remember in episode 1, I will come back and free you, Mom. And the people who could have saved him, they never even tried. So when I say Anakin did nothing wrong, I don't mean his actions. I mean his intentions. I mean the boy who just wanted to save the people that he loved, and instead lost them all. Anakin Skywalker didn't fall. He was pushed. By war, by fear, by betrayal, and by silence. And by the time anyone noticed, it was too late. Of all the things Anakin has gone through in his life, he never really had a life of peace. From being a slave to then being thrust into being a Jedi and having all of those rules and obligations, and being held back in all of the classes when he was excelling faster beyond his actual teachers, and all the while having students make fun of him for being weird or different, and he had to contain himself to not just kill them out of anger, because that's not the Jedi way, then being thrust into the Clone Wars and being the poster boy of it, being called master everywhere he went, having an apprentice of his own, Ahsoka Tano, and then not getting the rank of master on the council despite being on the council and having a seat. Mind you, he only wanted that rank because he was able to then go into the restricted section and find of all the different pieces of lore and stuff that he needed to, perhaps about Darth Plagueis or anybody else that could teach him how to save people from dying, so that he would never have to relive that moment of his mother dying again. But no, they denied him that. And the only person that promised him a little bit of that, even a glimmer, which is more than the Jedi did, was Palpatine. And so in that split moment where Mace Windu was going to kill him, instead of just arresting him, I believe if Mace Windu had just arrested Palpatine in that moment, Anakin wouldn't have done what he did. But it was because in that split moment, he was put against the wall in a very quick moment where he knew he had to make some sort of a drastic decision. Otherwise, the only hope that he had left to save his wife was gone. He did what he had to do. And even then, he didn't kill Mace Windu. He didn't slice him from the waist. He just took his hand. Now, I personally think that he should have just blocked the lightsaber. But, this is George's vision. And this is the fall of Anakin Skywalker. For it to lead to where it would lead to with Darth Vader, it needed to follow this kind of trajectory in this story. Otherwise, it would just not really make sense. I mean, if he blocked Mace's shot, then he would end up fighting Mace Windu. And I mean, that would be a really cool scene. And I would have loved to have seen that, but then he would have to kill Mace. It would be different. I almost feel like that would be better. But I think that also, if we got what we got, it kind of just puts Anakin in this weird position where he didn't really want that to happen. He didn't want Mace to die, but Palpatine just took advantage of that opening and killed him, which, I mean, fair enough. It was either kill or be killed for Palpatine. But for Anakin, he was just like, look, let's just wait a moment here. Let's not do anything too rash. Let's just hold on. And then, his future was basically decided for him right there with that one action. So I think Anakin then going into the Jedi Temple because of what Palpatine told him to do, doing all of these horrible things and killing everybody, he felt that if he would to ever tell the council about what he did with Mace Windu, they would never forgive him and they would throw him in jail anyways. Or they would even just kill him. And then what would happen to Padme and his child? And he couldn't have that happen. This all falls on Anakin's responsibility and duty and love for Padme. And he just really gets himself in the worst spot possible by believing his thoughts, believing his dark imagination, and thinking that that's actual reality when it hasn't ever happened yet. Just the fear alone caused him to literally change the entire galaxy to a very dark place. When if he just let things play out normally, he would have been fine. And his kid would have been fine. His kids with Padme alive. I think if Qui-Gon Jinn hadn't died, he would have been a completely different father figure than what Obi-Wan was, which was more like a friend, more like a brother. And I think what Anakin needed was a father, and he didn't have that. And I think Qui-Gon would have been exactly what he needed. Because there were a lot of scenes in Legends where Qui-Gon, like for example with Tal, where he had a love interest of his own, and he almost fell to the dark side. When he killed her assassin, he killed him with anger. And he spent days wandering the desert, completely disillusioned and just full of rage. And then finally, Obi-Wan's voice brought him back. He thought it was maybe Tal or what, but it was, in the end, Obi-Wan brought him back. And I think that there would be a lot of experience that Qui-Gon could have given Anakin that would really have helped him to become much more sane and to deal with his problems just like a father should for his son, and to be there for him, to give him that experience and to be that rock, that male figure that he needed. He didn't need to be coddled. He didn't need to be, like his mother did. He needed a father figure. And with both of them, it would have balanced him perfectly. But his rage and his anger and his impatience to never let what happened to his mom repeat itself with Padme and whoever else is what caused him to destroy his entire life and the lives of, well, the entire Republic and his friends. The tale of Anakin Skywalker and of Darth Vader isn't one that is very heroic. It's more so of tragedy. And it's supposed to show you that, yes, no matter how many bad things you do, you can always change in the end. Absolutely, that's a theme. But also to not trust things that may seem too good, like what he trusted with Palpatine. He made a deal with the devil, and he paid for it. Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I love making videos like this and, theorizing while pulling receipts from the films and the books. So if you want more like this, leave a like. If you made it this far, congratulations. And I hope I see you in the next video as well. Until then, remember the Force will be with you always.